We are on day 88, guys. You are moving right through this, and I really am so proud of all of us showing up and doing this work. So we are on day 88, and we are celebrating collective wins while honoring losses. If you are new here, this is 100 Days of Community. It started when we tapped into a few moments of the inauguration, and the announcer was like, "Oh, well, we'll see how the first 100 days of presidency goes." And I was like, "Oh, I need to do something to counteract the trauma that we're going to be inevitably dealing with when you're dealing with this narcissist at the helm." So we came up with 100 Days of Communities. Sarah says, "Is it okay if this is the first time I've been on?" It is absolutely okay. I welcome you to be here to continue on. We are on day 88. I all of the things are recorded, and there's a replay, and that comes for the paid subscribers will get that. If there's a barrier, I believe in equity, but I'm also surviving capitalism. But if you cannot afford the $8 a month or the $80 a year, all you have to do is email me at scholarships at Desiree B. Stevens, that's Stevens with a PH.com, and I will comp you for the year. I don't ask any questions. I trust you know more about your money than I do. That's mutual aid. So that's not an issue. Everybody has access to it, no matter what that looks like. On Mondays, I open it up to everyone so people can choose if they want to tap in or tap out. But yes, it does not matter. If this is your first time, that's fine. There's people that have been here every single day and are still just like kind of revisiting day 24 or wherever. This journey is wherever you land, it found you, and you are welcome to be in it. So, what we do is we have a topic. So day 88 is celebrating collective wins while honoring losses. And I do 3 points. That's my little micro lesson. I try to end at 10. It always goes over because I'm a chatty Cathy, as you can tell. Sarah says, "Thanks. I'm subscribed at some paid level." That's perfect. I'll make sure it's the appropriate level. The basic level. That's it. Like, I think that there's like a regular and then a founding. And then the founding is like 120, and then that just helps create the equity for the scholarships that are given. So if you are just subscribed, you'll have access to all of the days without an issue. Oh, Susan says welcome. I love that. Look at you guys. All right. All right, this damn laptop keeps going off. All right. We're in here. All right. Day 88, celebrating collective wins while honoring losses. Because liberation is not a straight line. Okay, we have to remember again, a lot of this is about reclaiming your positionality within nature. You are nature, and healing is never linear, right? Liberation is not linear either. All of it is a spiral. So, here's what we're going to be talking about. One, celebration and grief can coexist, right? When we're doing this work, we are consistently dismantling those 15 pillars of supremacy culture, and you will get a binary, right? It's either this or that, right? That's that binary thinking. So I want us to start opening up to the and or and the in between. Okay. So celebration and grief can coexist. I opened this up stating, that the kids seen their dad yesterday. It has been the last time they all seen him was July 21st, right? And I've allowed them to lead what that looks like for them. Do they want to talk? Do they want to see? And they had some things to process, right? And there's some grief in seeing them all together. But there's also some celebration, right? There's some grief in the fact that we're no longer a family unit the way that we were, but we can still be a family unit in a different way. And that's celebratory, right? So that's the and or that we're holding in those moments, grief and celebration. Lisa says, "Welcome to Coffee, Cats, and Des." Yeah, if you're new here, I have like 5 cats and usually coffee. And if I'm not in my cottage and I'm in my house, the cats are everywhere. Like, so that's the name, the moniker that Tiffany gifted me very early on. Coffee, Cats, and Des, which will probably be what this becomes after the 100 days because I'm going to stay going live because I think it's adorable and very accurate. So, second point is going to be collective wins deserve recognition. You guys know I love accountability and I love celebration. Love celebration. I think we should celebrate it, every single thing, right? Because it ebbs, it flows, it's spiral, it's secular. Things are not always going to be up here, right? You're not always going to be in joy. You're not always going to be happy. So why are we not celebrating more as we go along, right? So that's that. 3, honoring losses is a part of healing. You gotta take the L's, and you have to sit with them, and you have to honor them. It is sacred. It is sacred work. Grief is a sacred process. We often reserve grief, I've noticed, like for major things, the same way we reserve uh celebration for major things, graduations, weddings, um big huge accomplishments, right? And it's like, hey, I'm celebrating today that I'm gonna go see Sinners with a Friend. Like, I'm celebrating that win-win. That feels like good stuff, right? Because tomorrow I won't have that luxury. Tomorrow's a full packed day. So what does that look like, celebrating those sorts of wins? The same with grief, right? We save it, we reserve it for death, great loss. When we could grieve simple things like, did your tire blow out? I'm grieving that, right? I'm grieving the hour that you're gonna have to wait for a tow truck to come, or the money that you have to spend on an Uber to get to where you had to get to, and just all of the inconvenience that comes with that, right? I can grieve that my coffee spilled the other day, you guys. And yes, it's that serious. Because I was at baseball. So there was no getting more coffee. I came with my little coffee carafe, right? And I was all set up. And I know I'm going to be there now from 8 to about 3. And Shady knocked my coffee off the bleachers. And I mean, if I could have like grabbed the straw and sipped it off the ground, I probably would have. There was maybe about this much left, but there was grief in that moment, right? And I allowed that grief. Like, I was like, oh my God, I think, let me find some solutions. Do I need to go back home and get more coffee? What does this look like? I mean, there was enough. I survived. I made it through. But what I'm saying is we should make more space for celebration and more space for grief, because it is right. Carolyn felt me. Carolyn gave the shocked face. Yes, that's how I felt. I was grieving that. Thank you, Tiffany. No, correct. Taylor says my brand new week's old tire got a sidewall puncture, and I was like, right. Sidewall puncture, it means a whole new tire. There's no replacing that, right? There is grief in that, right? And I think that if we honored more spaces for celebration, more spaces for grief, we can get through the healing process in a different sort of way, right? Because people want to make you feel like you shouldn't feel those things. And again, when you're talking about some type of generational problems, as a Gen Xer, we weren't allowed to feel anything. So I am loving that reclamation of feeling all of the things. I do not like crying all the time, but between feeling things and perimenopause, I've become a sucker, and I don't love that, right? I don't love it, but I'm moving through it, and I want you to do it too. So let's start. Those are our 3 topics for the day. And let's wrap it up again in that celebrating collective wins while honoring losses. 1, celebration and grief can coexist. Liberation is layered. For every door that opens, there may be another we never got the chance to walk through. For every win, a memory of someone we wish were still here to see it. Both are sacred, and both deserve space. When we honor the fullness of the moment, the triumph and the ache, we don't split ourselves in two, and we're practicing wholeness. Lisa agrees that spilled coffee is just sad. Yes, it was sadness, right? So I gave an example here. Obviously, I also shared my personal life because my personal life is on display for you guys to see how you can incorporate liberation work into your actual work, right? Like in that moment with the kids reuniting, there is that wholeness, right? I don't get to split. And that is so important, right? Because you wind up when you split yourself, right? And you don't see that this is a win and a loss at the same time, you don't give space to usually the pain person. The pain body exists longer than the joy body, because the pain body is just sitting there waiting to be witnessed, right? We go through things and we want to pretend it doesn't hurt. It doesn't feel some type of way. Even in liberation work, right? Like there is an ache, right? There is an ache in recognizing if you've just woken up to this process, if you've just begun your anti-racism journey, if you've just begun liberation, there is an ache in knowing you've been complicit. There's an ache in knowing that you participated in oppressive systems. For all of us, right? Again, I will completely own, like, me sitting on this laptop and this phone is me participating in the globalization of capitalism. And that is harmful to Black and Brown people globally. There are children in mines in the Congo that are making this live possible. You have to hold that, right? And you can hold the ache of knowing that you participate in these oppressive systems and still celebrate, well, look at what we can do with it. How can we use this for good? Taylor says, in all things, and in all things is the heart of me. Oh, I like that. I like that. So, God, why does this thing keep dying so fast? Sorry, guys. I guess I'm talking too much. So I gave an example here. A community launches a mutual aid fund after years of organizing. They celebrate with music, food, and testimony, and also light candles for the elders and comrades who passed before seeing the fruits of their labor. Again, this work is generational work, right? We are working to heal 7 generations behind and working for 7 generations ahead to truthfully benefit from this work. So there are going to be people that will remember our names and remember this work that we are doing here together, but we may not be able to see it. You like that? I'm glad you like that, Sarah. We may not be, blah, 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 blah. We may not be able to see it. And that has got to be okay. And we have to do the work anyway, right? And sit with that ache and sit with that grief that we may not see the job completed, but we know that we've been doing the work for the forward generations, right? And when they then celebrate like this world that we have helped co-create with them, they will remember us, right? And that is a celebration and a grief being held at the same time in ceremony. So, I love to give a little reflection. Where in your work are you being asked to make space for both joy and sorrow, right? Both can coexist. What does it look like to stop performing resilience and start embodying it through intentional rest, ritual, and recognition? Super important, right? I love resilience. You guys know I'm all about our ancestors and tapping into that ancestral resilience. But you also know that I'm like, joy. There's got to be joy in the work. There has to be rest in the work. It has to be whole. I am not out here. I'm not going to kill myself. I'm not going to kill myself for the collective. I'm not going to martyr myself for my children. I'm not going to do any of that. I'm going to exist as a whole human being having a human experience. And I want the same for you guys. And when we can embrace the both and, we have more of a holistic experience in our healing and our liberation. 2, I'll sip me some water. Good morning, Marlon. Hi, Jenny. 2, collective wins deserve recognition. Supremacy culture teaches us to keep striving without pausing. Remember, supremacy culture is a disconnect from self, disconnect from land, disconnect from community. So if we're never pausing, we don't have a time to reconnect. Remember, I put that parentheses around the re. Re is to do again, right? We need to constantly be redoing something, doing it over and over and over again. But supremacy culture keeps its foot on our neck in one way or another, right? So, supremacy culture teaches us to keep striving without pausing, but community care means pausing on purpose. Remember, a couple weeks back, I talked about resting, and I don't mean, oh, I'm sick, so I'm home from work. I mean, no, really being intentional about taking moments of rest, being intentional about relationships. Are you intentionally calling your friends and having lunch? Are you intentionally taking yourself to go through things? It all has to be with purpose and intent. So, celebration is not self indulgent, it's resistance. It's how we say, we did this together. I just. It feeds our spirits, strengthens our bonds, and signals that our labor is not in vain, right? You cannot have a group, right? A lot of you have your book groups and you have your activist groups, and you cannot keep asking these people to show up and you have not also incorporated intentional community care, intentional check-ins. If you're doing mutual aid, it needs to happen within your inner circle before it goes out of your outer circle, right? Inner world, outer world. So all of those things have to be happening here first, well, here with you, and then within your immediate sphere, right? Which is your own home, your immediate communities, and that ripples outward because the more people are taken care of and held in that sacred container, the more work they can do for liberation, right? For anti-oppression. So I gave an example. After a successful campaign to remove a harmful school policy, organizers host a block party. Pardon me. host a block party. They speak the names of those who worked behind the scenes. They toast to their ancestors and dance with the children who benefit most, right? So now that winds up this beautiful intergenerational celebration of the work that was done.
What?
Hold on a second, because my son has joined me. Yes?
Phone.
Is that what you came over here for? Have you nourished your body? Have you put your stuff in the washing machine?
Mom, I've been told you I finished eating.
Okay. Have you put the stuff in the washing machine?
Yeah.
Did you start the washing machine?
Yeah.
Good job. Here you go. Appreciate you.
And I'm just called. Oh my.
Life happens. They'll still be there. The breath that I gotta take. Okay. Good morning, Suzanne. So, as a reflection, I said, what recent win deserves acknowledgement? Please feel free to share that here, share that amongst yourselves, share it in the comment section of the replay. But we should celebrate together, right? I think that that is super important. Again, I love celebrations, small things. I don't care what it is. Yesterday, I cleaned my truck. Celebrate me, right? Like it looked like I couldn't even put the kids in the car anymore. I was like, we gotta stop and clean this car. This is absurd. That's something that is celebratory, right? We celebrated that together. We cleaned it together. We celebrated it together. I'm like, isn't it nice? Your knees are not up to here because you got your feet on top of shit that you've had in here for weeks. Isn't it nice to have all this space? And we celebrated. Look, there's a cup holder that was hiding. Now you don't have to spill your drink. All of those sorts of things, right? So I said, what recent wins deserve acknowledgement? And how might you gather your people, not just to strategize for the next fight, but to sit in the sweetness of what's already been done? We talked about reflection a couple of days back, right, with your community. So, like, hands off, the second march was on Saturday. There's a moment in time where you sit down and you celebrate, whoever, if you've had groups, hopefully there were groups out there, not just a bunch of individuals. But you sit down and you say, okay, well, let's sit down and let's reflect what went wrong, what could have done better. I critique the fact that individualism showed up in that one person getting arrested. You cannot be having a march talking about hands off and allow somebody to be arrested. Like a singular person, while people are recording, talking about shame, 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 hands off. No, jump on them. Jump on them folks. All right. If you're gonna arrest 120 of us need to go. Pull the paddy wagon around, okay? Because you're not taking just one of us. That is how that's supposed to be, right? That is that energy. That's something to sit with. That's something to reflect on, right? What could be celebrated, right? Here's the both and. The celebration of it is white people are really getting out there. I love to see it. The grief of it is y'all still think it's a damn block party because one of y'all was on the internet getting tore up because you wanted a bouncy castle at a protest, or you're like, oh, it's really not that violent. And I'm like, sitting, reflecting, celebrating, all of that can happen in that same space, right? To sit down and say, you know what, we are out here, but we have so much more to learn, right? Because there was another critique I had about it is like, these things go viral on the internet where somebody's like, oh my God, this is what we do. This is the voice I heard it in. Oh my God, this is what we do on the weekends now. We get together, we hang out, we protest, we have snacks. And I'm like, do I want you to feel safe outside? Yes. You're not causing enough ruckus if this is more like a hangout, but then that's also acknowledging the grief of how isolating supremacy culture is. It's like this is the first real fullness of community that many white body people have felt, right? Like, look at us. We're gathering, we're out here fighting together. And I'm like, oh, this is your first taste of community. We could sit with that and still critique it, right? Because some things need to be worked over. But that's the both and. Carolyn says, I'm celebrating getting this girl out of my house who's been in here for 3 days. Baby, this girl would have had the house. You know what I'm saying? Because no. Yeah, I celebrate that with you. Absolutely not. I'm all about connecting with nature and being one with nature and having a very, distinguished line of this is mine. I respect your home, right? I don't litter. I don't put harmful chemicals on most spaces. Respect mine and get the hell out, okay? I'm so glad. I deeply celebrate that with you. Yay, no squirrels. 3, because we are at the top. Honoring losses is a part of healing. This is so vital and so, so sacred, right? And opens us up to this deeper well within us of acceptance and expansion. Okay. So Grief is not a detour on the path to justice. It is part of the path. We lose people, we lose funding, we lose momentum. If we pretend those losses don't matter, we risk hardening. We don't want to do that, right? That's where those we talked about thought terminating cliches, right? It is what it is. It's always been this way. Things that shut you down. And supremacy culture loves when we are not feeling, when we are out of our humanity, right? That's what it strips first. Before it colonizes lands, it takes over minds, body, heart, and soul, right? If you can harden a person to accept that this is what it is, or that the fight is over, what have you, there's no more humanity to continue to fight for. So it consistently tries to strip us of that. So keep that in mind. And when we risk hardening, we risk isolation. But when we honor our losses with tenderness, we build a culture that knows how to keep going without leaving people behind. And I think that that's so important, right? And everybody's going to be wherever they're going to be on their journey, and not everybody is going to be able to come, right? There are going to be people that do get left behind, and that's fine too, right? It is what it is. You do what you can, where you can. Remember, I said you're not responsible for everything, but you're responsible for something. And not everybody's going to be able to come along. And they may come later on. They just may not be here in this moment. And that's cool. So, as an example, a collective creates an altar in their meeting space for those lost to state violence. Each gathering begins a moment of silence, grounding their work in memory and commitment. There's absolutely nothing wrong in having sacred spaces for that, right? We're not going to pretend that people don't die for liberation, that people are not murdered for liberation, that people just don't grow weary and stop doing the work. We could still honor the work that they have done and say, hey, they stepped out. They can no longer do this, right? I do believe in sustainable activism, and it should be to your capacity. Again, I don't think that people should be martyring themselves. This is why it's collective work, right? It's shared leadership, because when one person is tired and tarrying, we made a connection to a relay race. That's fine. Run your part of the race, friend. Run yours and pass the baton. Teaching, guiding, mentoring, et cetera, et cetera. And then, you're resting on the sidelines, you're drinking the water, you may come back in the game. You know what I'm saying? But everybody has to run their part of that race, right? And we have to honor the losses. We are going to have people that don't come along for a various amount of reasons, but it's super, super vital to honor that, to see it, to witness it. As a reflection, I ask you, what losses, recent or distant, are asking to be named, remembered, or ritualized in your space? What practices can help you and your community move through grief together, right? So I want you to think about that, right? And this is obviously, it will all be in the replay, because I want us to think of grief as something sacred, right? Like a practice of holding space for that pain, for that loss, for what was and what could potentially be, right? Like, just because one version of something is lost doesn't mean that something new can't be birthed there, right? Yesterday we were just talking about renewal and resurrection. So let's say you have an organization and it lost funding and it was the major funder. That is, sit with that, right? Because that's a fucking gut punch, right? It's like, because now you're talking about people's livelihoods. You're talking about an overworked and underfunded space anyway, which is usually the truth in organizations. Historically, Black organizations, brown, indigenous organizations have been woefully underfunded, but do so much of the work. Sit with that grief, right? But also leave yourself open, right? That's that celebration, the end, or that something else can be birthed there. That maybe 5 different kinds of fundings come in, and maybe you just get more help or whatever. But honor that loss, honor it, and it be sacred. Honor the people that are no longer here. And I don't simply mean these big names, right? I'm talking about honor the secretary that used to keep notes at your meeting. That's just like, I can't do this anymore. But thank you, because you kept such amazing notes all these years. All of it. Everyone matters in collective work. Everyone. All parts are vital, all are valuable, and all of it needs to be honored. And we are at time, and I have a cat crying in here. This is why I'm losing my mind, because I don't know where it went. I came from. I think that there is a hole that I need to find, because it did not come in through the door. So let's see if it's Yeah, there's going to be a hole in that bathroom that I need to find because there you go. You got your coffee, Captain Des. Come on. We are rounding out now, Rascal. So give me a second. I know. Come on, girl. Oh, you want to say good morning? Say good morning. Say hi. You came over here to hang out with me. All right. I love that for me. But let me. Okay, I can't rub on you right now. Okay, you're being really aggressive. There we go. Oh, could you hear that? Oh wow, this microphone is better than I imagined. I was like, where's that sound coming from? Because the doors closed. They didn't come in with Kieran, and I think that like where the tubs uh pipe comes out, I think that I think I need to close that because that's probably a little that's too wide if the cat could get in, right? So anyway, let's round this up for the day because we are at the top of the time. Good morning, Tashmika. It's nice to see you. Day 88, celebrating collective wins while honoring losses. So we had 3 points. One was celebration and grief can coexist, right? Because we're human and that's part of the human experience. Two is collective wins deserve recognition. Sit down and honor all of the wins every single time because it's worth it. And we don't get to celebrate enough unless it's given to us by an authority and we get to be the authority of our own lives and what we're celebrating. Three, honoring losses is a part of healing. We cannot and we are no longer going through things like it doesn't matter. We are not going to not feel our feelings. We're going to feel all the feelings, right? Sometimes they're big, sometimes they're small, but we're going to feel all those feelings and we're going to honor loss because it honestly makes healing that much better because we're honoring that loss, right? And that in between space. And it also allows for what could be, right? For the new beginning. If we keep pretending that something was not a loss, oh, it didn't matter. I really wasn't that committed to that work anyway, or, this group wasn't that important. Yes, it was. And it's okay to acknowledge that, right? And it's okay to acknowledge the loss when it happens and then be able to move forward and open ourselves up to what could be. So that is our day 88. And tomorrow we will be talking about the role of hope in sustaining liberation. Lisa says feelings, sometimes they are sweet. Sometimes, and sometimes they're not so sweet. You know what I'm saying? Because, like, ow, don't bite me. I know you guys like that. Sometimes they're not, and sometimes they're icky, and sometimes they're vile, and sometimes they're just all of the things, right? But I think for me personally, I'm gonna feel every single one of those. Okay. Sometimes they're angry. Sometimes I don't want to do a lot of things. Sometimes I don't want to feel all of that. But I found, at least for myself, it has been amazing, right? I've been doing this work for years, and there are people that used to talk to me daily and they don't anymore. And I honor that loss too. I'm like, oh, wow, I really hope that they're doing well. But I still sit with the grief of, maybe it got too much. Hopefully they found somebody else that aligns with them some more. All of those things. I find that it's super helpful. Oh, they can hear you purring. Yes. All right, guys. I love you. I will see you tomorrow. I gotta rub on the kitty and get ready. My humor is that of a 12-year-old boy. So, anyway, I have to get ready for the movies in a little bit, and I will talk with you guys later on. Carolyn says, this is a big theme in addiction and recovery literature. Learning to feel our feelings is a skill that we bypass instead of learning. And again, a lot of that is generational, right? And I mean, feel all of the feelings, like I said, with the example of the kids and their dad, like there was a point in time where I totally wanted to hit him with my truck. Like no, no, boy, and I honored that, right? Like I honored, absolutely, I want to see you underneath my tires, and yeah, and I'm angry and I can't stand you right now. And I think that we don't do that, especially as women. We are not supposed to be angry. White women are, raised to be nice. I don't believe in being nice, definitely kind. I'm not a nice person. I'm very kind. I am loving, caring, all of that good shit, but I am not a nice person and I don't aspire to be nice because nice means I don't get to exist and I'm just supposed to exist to please you. So I think that when I know for me, honoring all of those feelings, right, is like, and the end or both. Like I want to hit you with my truck, but I also want to see you being successful as a co-parent, right? I want to see you successful in life, even if it is not in partnership with me. And then that opens up to, well, what does partnership without me look like now, right? What does co-parenting? Because I'm able to move through those things. Taylor says, "Oh, the divorce snapback." Yeah, I'm not legally divorced, but yeah, basically, yeah, that is what it is. Like, and this is my second go round, so yeah, because with my first divorce, because I'm running through them, we went through that too, and we came out of it. Uh, Pretty good friends in the end, right? And I'd like to see that, and then we stopped talking again. But I'm like, whatever. We got remarried, and that was a whole other story. And not everybody can do those things, but I think it's because we're not honoring all of those feelings. Sarah says, "Nice. Yes, you're right. Was deaf taught to be nice." Oh yeah, that is a horrible trait in white womanhood. The teaching to be nice is terrible. All right, because what it does is it silences your voice. It does not teach you boundaries. You're just supposed to show up and shrink as small as you can and just, put a smile on your face. Don't say that. That's not very nice. And I'm like, man, fuck that. I'm about to say this, right? Like I'm going to say what I have to say. So yeah, I want if you are trying to be nice, you could stop that. Okay. We don't owe nice. I tell my very specifically my daughter and fem children is you don't owe nice. Nice is not the price that you pay in this world because you look like a woman, right? You don't owe nice to anybody. Kindness is different. Tiffany says it keeps you small and easy to deal with. Lisa says, taught if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything. Yeah, that's bullshit because I'm going to say it. Yeah, I know. And I have, that comes with its own issues, right? Because of socialization, right? So be prepared that as you start feeling those feelings and as you start speaking out more, you're going to get that pushback, right? You're going to be told you're not being very nice. Nobody wants to hear that. It's going to be so uncomfortable. Do it anyway. Do it anyway because your nicety has cost you your own sense of well-being, your own peace, and there are ways to say things without being mean, right? Like I said, you can be kind. I could say what I'm saying with kindness. I think that I deliver very real and hard truths in this sphere, in this space, in this work of anti-oppression and anti-racism. I am very aware of how what I'm saying could be activating. I'm still not going to not tell you the truth, right? I'm not going to be nice about it, right? I'm not going to say, "Oh yeah, no, that's not." Nope. Absolutely not. We're going to sit with the truth. We're going to hold that each other with some accountability. And again, if you've followed me for a while, accountability is neutral. It's just stating the truth and we just move on. And we just keep on doing the work and we just keep on showing up with all the feelings and we're honest, right? Brave spaces, vulnerable, being safe to be vulnerable, to make mistakes. All of those things, right, culminate to having a healthy community and a space where you can exist with boundaries, with kindness, and still take no shit, right? Like none. Like I will be kind all day, love on you all day, but you're never going to be able to play in my face ever. Are you or anyone in this world going to be able to play in my face? That's a no. That's absolutely not. And no is a complete sentence. You know what I'm saying? Sarah says so much. I see it in my two girls too. Yep, stop it, babe. She said I need to stop it. Yeah, just shift it a little. Oh, I see you're being nice. How did you really feel about that? Right? Like now let's practice being kind about it. You don't want them to be like cursing their little friends out, right? Like that's not kind. I literally say that to my kids. Oh, whoa, because like we use kind words with each other. You know what I'm saying? I curse like a sailor. My kids also curse. One of the rules with the cursing is we're not allowed to curse at each other, right? Because that's just not kind. You're not going to get up and call me out of my name. That's that's going to be a no, right? So when you're disrupting that nice cycle, I would suggest, implementing kindness. Oh, I noticed that you seemed uncomfortable, sweetie, and you didn't have to be nice in that moment. What were you feeling? Well, I didn't like when so and so took my pencil. Okay, well, you could turn around and say, "Hey, I don't like when you take my things. This is my stuff and you need consent. So, I'm going to take my pencil back and you could ask for it. I'm being kind, I'm asserting my boundaries, and I'm not going to smile while you take my stuff. That's crazy work." Tiffany says, "Yes, it has. It's just the last 8ish years I'm learning to speak up and not this collapses, not be shrunk to fit how people in my life want." Yeah, that's a huge, honestly, I think that when I was doing one to ones, that was, like I said, when I was working with white women doing one to one, biggest thing I had to teach them was to take deep breaths, right? Like to actually breathe into the body, because white women are taught to shrink. To take up space was so difficult in their own body. And I'm like, oh, you got to take up space, not over here in blackness, like over there, and topple the patriarchy. So like learning like how to take up space, how to stand, how to be sovereign is something that's the empowerment that needs to start with white women, and again, inside of whiteness, right? Because when you exert that power outside of whiteness, you're literally just wielding white supremacy. You're not, don't come over here talking about you're empowered, and I'm not saying take shit from nobody just because they're black. I'm saying literally don't overspeak, don't be so forceful, and somebody's trying to teach you something, you're like, I'm gonna be empowered. No, ma'am, no. Empower yourself over there, right? Because here you're just wielding supremacy culture, and that's not the same thing, right? We want to see you empowered. We want to see you strong and sovereign over there. When you dismantle that over there, then, right, like now we start evening everything and we're all coexisting. But right now, there's a hierarchy, right? That pyramid scheme of whiteness that needs to be dismantled. So I super, super implore you to release niceness. Let it go. Set it free. Right? Feel all the feelings. And for white men, release hardness. Get a little nice. Why don't you try practicing nice? Right? Because like that no feeling shit is literally has us here. Like not feeling has us here, and not for nothing, white men have the highest rates of suicide. So it can't be so great being taught to your oppressor. You may want to tap into your emotions, sit with some things, some big feelings, and really name how this patriarchy harms you first before you start abusing other people. So there we go. We're really over time now. Tiffany says perimenopause is just filling me with rage and I'm working on it. No, I've been rageful my whole life, but I'm also an Aries and I'm Irish, so it could just be honest. Um, Perimenopause is very interesting and we're told you we're going to be talking about perimenopause more after this 100 days and we'll have these conversations. I think that very specifically, right? Because, I'm always talking about oppression and how it intersects and the intersectionality of liberation. I think it's multifold, right? I think perimenopause, you get to a point where one, your hormones are everywhere. So you're back at teenager sort of feelings, right? Like remember when we were teens and it was like everywhere, you wanted to cry, you wanted to scream, you wanted to do all of the things, but we have like this adult ability to articulate our words. The brain is fully developed, we may have a little bit of change and we could do some things that are different, but mostly I think that what happens very specifically for white women is the patriarchy releases you because you can no longer serve it, right? Because you are no longer able to breed for white supremacy, right? You can't bear them any more children, so you become discarded. And at that point, when you become discarded, that anger arises. Like, what? what just happened? And what just happened is you can no longer be used as a tool of patriarchy, right? You've lost the youth, and really, the youth is about breeding and sex, like that's really what it is. So I think that breeds a different type of anger inside of white women and femmes, because there's a grief, right? Like back to this whole thing. There's a celebration and grief, right? The celebration of being free from the male gaze, GAZE, but also this ache, like you participated in these systems and it doesn't pay you back. It does not reward you. To the contrary, it pushes you to the side and replaces you with a younger model, with someone who could be, trained in the ways of cis het white patriarchy. So there's a lot of things, and we will be unpacking all of those things. But right now, I'm going to run. I'm going to go have some coffee, and I am going to get ready for my date. Yes, I date my friends. To Goosey Sinners. So I love you guys. I will see you again tomorrow. The replay will be out this afternoon. And again, if you are, this is open for everyone. If you become a paid subscriber, you will have access to the replay and all of the other replays. And if there is a financial barrier, because I do believe in equity, right? Like this is the end or. I am also surviving capitalism, so need to be paid. But I do believe that healing should be equitable and you can't hustle healing. So scholarships at DesireeBStevens.com and you will get comp to year. No questions asked. Okay. Love you guys. Kate says, have a happy Monday, a wonderful Monday. I will. You do the same. Let me see. Lisa says, have fun. I definitely shall. Susan says, bye. Bye, you guys. See you tomorrow.